We'll get back into the Suns in about 15 minutes. If they are benching Bradley Beal on purpose, like Brian Windhorst claimed, what type of long-term ramifications does that have? We'll dive into that in about 15 minutes from now. But I do want to take a break from the Suns. I want to focus on the Arizona Cardinals. Their season over. They are in full offseason mode. It is preparation for the offseason. It is preparation for the Senior Bowl, the scouting combine, free agency, the draft. It is all preparation to build up this roster, to take an 8-9 team and build on it to where they are a double-digit win team next year. They are a playoff team next year. That is what the task is for Monty Ossenfort and company this offseason. So when doing that, you default back to where you stand when it comes to what we are calling here on this show the 5 pillars. Now, these are the positions that everybody talks about, the things you have to have when building an NFL team. We have given them a name. I don't know if anybody else has had this name for them. I've always referred to them as the 5 pillars. These are just the non-negotiables, right? You're buying a house, you're getting a new car, you're making a major life change. The non-negotiables, things that if they are not there, I'm not buying the car. I'm not buying the house. I'm not getting into that relationship if you don't have the 5 pillars. So what are the 5 pillars of building an NFL team? These are the 5 positions you need to focus on. Quarterback, left tackle, wide receiver, edge, and corner. That's what you need. You have a stud at those positions, you build those positions out, you're going to have a chance. If you have a good quarterback, a good left tackle, a good wide receiver, a good edge, and a good corner, you can go far in the NFL. So let's frame the offseason for the Arizona Cardinals through that lens. Is there a 5-pillar position that they need to focus on? Because if you do, that moves to the front of the list. That moves to the top of the list. For the teams that have their 5 pillars figured out, it's all the other stuff. It's all the complementary pieces, the depth pieces, right? So when looking at the 5 pillars for the Arizona Cardinals, where do they stand? So let's go one by one. Quarterback. Okay, this is going to be a big one. This is going to be a tough one. Because there are probably some of you out there who believe the Cardinals have their quarterback, that you would say that they satisfy this pillar, that Kyler Murray is good enough for them to win. There are some of you out there that are done with Kyler Murray. There are some of you out there that saw the way that he played post-bye week this season, that have seen enough of his career in the NFL to say he can't win the big one. He can't get it done. Kyler Murray, when it comes to is he or is he not franchise quarterback or not franchise quarterback, a very divisive figure. I don't know. Here's what I do know, though. They're not going to address this pillar this offseason. So through that lens, we would say, yes, they have that pillar. They're not addressing quarterback this offseason. Now, another year goes by, poor performances within the division, poor performances in meaningful games late in the season, the contract much more easy to get out of after next season, different conversation. But for right now, as we sit here, that pillar, we would give it a check mark. Left tackle. I mean, Paris Johnson Jr.'s got that spot locked down. He's not going anywhere. The moment they're able to do a contract extension, they will do a contract extension. He's awesome. He's a linchpin to the offensive line. You just put him over there on the left side, and it is perfect. It's going to protect Kyler Murray. The ultimate check. Wide receiver. Now, it was a disappointing rookie campaign. It was not statistically what we thought it could be. There needs to be more next season. There needs to be growth and development, and there's a bunch of parties involved on that. But I don't think any of us sit here today thinking that it was a mistake that the Cardinals took Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't think there's anybody saying that it was a bust selection to take Marvin Harrison Jr. There is zero reason to waver in what Marvin Harrison Jr. can be, because if what we got this season from him is the worst you're going to see from him, you got a pretty good wide receiver on your hands. And I think next year is the year you see him evolve into that true number one threat that we think he can be, where he's putting up 1,000-plus yard seasons, that he's scoring double-digit touchdowns, that he is a game changer, a difference maker. I think it is next season where we see that. But there's nothing about this rookie campaign, which statistically is disappointing, but there's nothing about it to waver in your position that it was a good pick, that he's going to be a good wide receiver, and he's going to be here for a really long time. Again, if that year that we just got from Marvin Harrison Jr. is the worst year we see from him, I think things are going to be okay. So of the three pillars on offense, we would say there are three checks. Two slam dunk checks, left tackle and wide receiver. Quarterback, we're giving it a check for now, but that's up in the air. So let's go to the two pillars on defense. Pillar number one, an edge rusher. I'm leaving the silence in there because there isn't anything to talk about here. Here is the pillar that needs to be addressed. We said pillars get moved to the front of the line the moment they are identified as needing to be addressed. Edge moves to the top of the list. It's already been there, but it's at the top of the list. They don't have a Myles Garrett. They don't have a Max Crosby. They don't have a Micah Parsons. And I know those are three elite of the elite pass rushers, but look around all of the teams that are going to be playing this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday in the NFL playoffs. They've all got at least one dude that can get after the quarterback. The Cardinals need to get there. The Cardinals need to find their dude at edge. So it is the one pillar that is unchecked. Corner, man, I think Garrett Williams is a stud. What a steal pick for the Cardinals. He dropped in the draft because he was coming off of a major knee injury. They grab him in the third round. He has a decent rookie campaign. And then this year, how about this for you? In single coverage, he has a 92.2 PFF grade. I'm just throwing numbers at you, but it's the best among corners. Garrett Williams, the best, not just amongst NFC corners or NFC, no. Amongst all corners in the NFL in single coverage, Garrett Williams grades out the best. You've got a dude at corner. You've got a shutdown corner that can take away an opposing team's number one wide receiver. So I've got the left tackle. I've got the corner. I'm almost positive I've got the wide receiver. And for now, I've got the quarterback. So when you look at the five pillars for the Arizona Cardinals, they're doing a lot better than a bunch of other teams. Do yourself a little bit of a thought exercise. Pick a team in the NFC West and go through this exercise. Go through the five pillars and ask yourself, do they have more or less pillars than the Cardinals? Go across all the teams in the NFC that the Cardinals will be competing with next year. Look at them through the lens of the five pillars. Where do the Cardinals stack up? You might be surprised where they find themselves in the exercise of the five pillars. Because one could make the very rosy argument that you have four of these five locked up. Kyler, Paris Johnson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Williams, you just need an edge. To have four of the five means you should be a bona fide playoff contender. You should be right there. Now, the reason why maybe they're not is because do they really have a quarterback? Are we really there with the wide receiver? That's when you start to nitpick. Do you truly have what the five pillars are supposed to be at their peak? But it's a very easy case to make that the Cardinals have four of the five pillars. For this offseason, there is one major pillar that needs to be addressed. It's the pillar that we've been talking about for over a year now. They need to find a pass rusher. I know they drafted Darius Robinson in last year's draft to help with that, but they need a dude. They need a stud. And so if you're starting your mock draft journey, if you're starting your deep dive into players that are going to be available for the Cardinals, look at who might be available when they pick with the 16th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Look to see what edge players might be there. Because unless they address it via a trade or via free agent signing, maybe Hassan Reddick returns here, then it is going to be the most obvious team need. Best edge on the board is going to go to the Cardinals at 16. It's going to be one of the easier predictions to make. And we'll do it here on the show. We will give you a full predictive mock draft when we get closer to the draft. I've done this the last couple of years. I've done pretty well the last couple of years. Pretty good at reading the tea leaves, seeing team needs, knowing these players. So we'll do that as we get closer to the draft. But if you don't address it in free agency and you don't address it via a trade, it's going to become very clear and very obvious what your priorities are going to be in the draft and what you are going to be looking at when you select in the first round of the draft. And we've made the case of, is that really the way you want to address that pillar? Do you want to go with somebody on the younger side that maybe needs some time to develop, or with where this team is at in their life cycle, it's time to maybe go for a veteran player, a player that can immediately hit the ground running and give you that juice, give you those numbers, the production immediately instead of waiting for it to develop over the course of a rookie campaign? I don't know. It's all going to depend on what's available. It's all going to depend on what the Cardinals are willing to do. Are there edge players that price themselves out of where the Cardinals want to be? I would love it if they shopped in the mid-tier edge bucket via free agency and then added a rookie with one of their first 2 picks. That feels like the best of both worlds. We're looking long-term but also addressing short-term. Whereas if you go all in by signing Hassan Reddick, you may want to use your first-round pick in a different direction. And so multiple ways to build a team, multiple ways to go about this. It's nice to be in the position that the Cardinals find themselves in. We wrap up hour number 1 of the lunch break on the other side. You want to join us here, 480-864-1060 is the phone number, or on the YouTube stream, KDUS AM 1060.